Good morning, just in time for the morning momentum, today being the 7th day of August 2024. This is a daily compendium of local and international news, human interest stories, current affairs, and expert opinion. My name is Alfonsoh Ouma. Use the hashtag The Morning Momentum at Younib MEDIA TV at Alfonsoh Albakwekwe. This broadcast begins right now. Now, let's start with the standard. 10 billion shillings club, tough task awaiting the CSS. Now, as the nation holds its breath ahead of tomorrow's planned protest, some 20 wealthy Kenyans are praying that they surmount public dissent, vetting and legal hurdles to join Ruto's cabinet. But equally daunting is the task that awaits them once they assume office. And that story is beefed up for you on page 4 and page 5 of the Standard this morning. On page 8, live up to your office, MPs tell Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now, a section of Mount Kenya MPs have openly criticized the Deputy President's leadership style, urging him to embody national unity befitting his office. On page 6, fugitive Triton boss Devani in court over 7.6 billion shillings oil graft case after running from justice for 15 years. The long arm of the law finally caught up with business tycoon Yagnesh Mohanlal Devani after he was arrested and spent a night in police cells over the 7.6 billion oil scandal. He is set to be charged today. That story is beefed up for you on page 6. On page 3, Shari Martin's Rafiki Pesa song maker bows out. That story is beefed up for you on the Standard. In the international scene, Bangladesh youth want Yunus to lead. We'll take a look at that on page 20. Now, let's take a look at page 2 of the Standard this morning. Kenya confirms one mpox case, that is monkeypox, steps up surveillance at the border. Now, Health PS says the truck driver was treated and has recovered. County and national government health officials put on high alert. That story is beefed up for you on page 2 of the Standard this morning. On page 3, artists mourn Rafiki Pesa star who sang his way from kitchen. Shari Martin honed his skills in church and at the Amboseli Serena Lodge, where he was a cook. Them mushrooms and Anastasia Mukabwa say Martin was talented and committed. You want to catch up with more of those insights on page 3. On page 4, tough task ahead for Ruto's 20 millionaire CS nominees. Now, it is doubtful that the vetting committee will outrightly reject any of the president's picks. President's move to reinstate some CSS has been criticized by the protesting youth. More insights on page 4. On page 5, cases test legitimacy of Ruto Raila picks ahead of swearing in. Now, petitioners say by picking opposition members, President weakens oversight, and those who were dismissed when cabinet, they say, was dissolved should sit out. You want to catch up with more of those insights on page 5 of the Standard this morning. Let's move on and take a look at page 6. Fugitive tycoon Yagnesh Devani charged in 7.6 billion Triton oil scandal. Businessman has been on the run for the last 15 years, and he will appear in court today after spending the night in a cell. You want to catch up with that on page 6. On page 7, Azimio gives nod to Junet and Mili for top house positions. Women MPs demand inclusion in ODM leadership. Back Wanga for deputy role. Raila promises future benefits as ODM faces internal leadership challenges. That story is beefed up for you on page 7. Let's take a look at page 8. MPs to Gachagua. It's time you act presidential. Now, leaders tell Deputy President he needs to stop his obsession with Mount Kenya. They are calling on elders to convene a meeting to discuss his leadership. You want to catch up with more of those insights on page 8. On page 9, shops, church destroyed as more than 5 fire incidents are reported. Now, the property razed in Mukuru Kwanjenga yesterday, just a few days after 5 incidents in the city. County administration, which has been faulted for delayed response, says it's putting up more fire stations. That story is beefed up for you on page 9. On page 10, Students told not to pay fees until state completes funding model. Amount universities had communicated was the full cost of programs, and the learners will be categorized according to their level of vulnerability. You want to catch up with that on page 10. Let's move on swiftly and take a look at the expert opinion. This morning, the big question is, does wealth declaration help in the war on graft? Now, Diana Chekongori, customer service executive, says it has served to instill discipline. So he gives a thumbs up for that sentiment. On the contrary, Mike Mutungi says, no, we seem to have missed the purpose. And you want to get into more insights of their sentiments on page 13 of the Standard this morning. Let's move on and take a look at county news. So we start with Bomet County. Now, Governor Barchok MCS mend fences after political standoff. There was a plot to impeach the governor following differences with MCS, and they had accused him of using legal action to frustrate their oversight role. That story is beefed up for you on page 16. Let's stay there a little bit and take a look at Murang'a County. Hope as research on new lotion to fight jiggers bears fruits. Now, the battle against jigger infestation has received a boost after researchers developed an anti-jigger lotion capable of eradicating the menace. Dubbed Saraya Jigger Lotion, the innovation has been tipped to end use of traditional methods to suffocate jiggers and push them out of victims' bodies. And in West Pokot County, now West Pokot opens 32-bed ward in 2 hospitals. West Pokot County, in partnership with the Drugs of Neglected Tropical Diseases Initiative, has launched a new 32-bed general ward and an ultra-modern kitchen for Sigor and Kacheliba sub-county hospitals, respectively. More insights on page 16. You also have the Standard Enterprise beefed up for you this morning. And the elephant in the room is why informal sector has lagged in pension uptake. You want to catch up with that on the Standard Enterprise. Let's move on to more county news and take a look at page 17. Waititu's official says change of rules determined the 588 million shillings tender. Now, former Kiambu County Roads official says new criterion introduced at evaluation stage. Former governor and his wife among those charged over the 588 million shillings tender. That story is beefed up for you on page 17. Let's take a look at business news. Plan to split Kenya Railways and rope in private players. Now, Railways Bill 2024 has proposed the unbundling of Kenya Railways, which currently undertakes all the sector's functions, proposes the establishment of Kenya Railways Corporation and the Railway Regulatory Authority. Now, in education campaign, 1.4 million children to benefit from nutrition plan. Over 1.4 million school children across the country are expected to benefit from the Blue Band Nutrition Education campaign that is aimed at promoting healthy living. In matters tech, Airtel rolls out promo to boost internet use. Now, Airtel Kenya has announced a free data campaign dubbed GB kwa GB aimed at new smartphone users. The offer is available for all customers who join the Airtel network with a new smartphone and existing customers upgrading from a feature phone to a smartphone. Now, that story is beefed up for you on page 18. Let's move on and take a look at the international news. We start with Bangladesh. Now, students call for Nobel winner Yunus to lead Bangladesh. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled on Monday after the military turned against her. Monday was the deadliest day since protests began in early July. That story is beefed up for you on page 20. In Britain, 6,000 police at the ready to quell UK riots. The UK government said on Tuesday that 6,000 specialist police officers were ready to deal with far-right rioting that broke out following the murder of 3 children, triggering a week of violence. That story is beefed up for you on page 20. On page 21, U.S. polls, Harris picks Minnesota Governor Wells as running mate. Now, Wells had been on shortlist with a string of other Democratic figures. Expectations had always been that Harris would pick a white man to balance the ticket. That story is comprehensive, covered for you on page 21. Let's move on and take a look at sports news on the Standard this morning. And that lands us to change the rules or clubs suffer more title thirst. Now, the Blues needed recoup funds after splashing over 1 billion euros in the past 4 transfer windows. Chelsea boss Maresca says rules to blame for academy talent exodus. The story is beefed up for you on page 28. Let's take a look at the school games. It's down to prayers as the national school games enter crucial stage. Highway will face Kirangaria's battle for vacant football. Boys Throne continues. St. Joseph Girls Kitale battle Nyakach Girls as defending champs. Butere play Kombani. That story is beefed up for you on page 29. And now we take a look at the Paris Olympic Games. Kenyans seek to stop El Bakali as they strive to reclaim 3,000 meters steeplechase title. Kibiwot aware of task lying ahead of tonight's final with world record holder Girma also racing. Kenyans lost the steeplechase title at the Tokyo Olympics with Morocco's El Bakali winning gold. That story is beefed up for you on page 30. On page 31, no problems for Faith in 1,500 meters as Diego shines. Two-time 1,500 meters Olympic champion Faith Kipyegon put behind Monday's frustration to sail through into the semifinals of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games at Stade de France yesterday. In the USA, safari packages await Kenya's medalists from Paris, says KTB boss. Now, Kenya medalists at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games will each receive a special safari package from the Kenya Tourism Board. According to KTB boss June Chepkemei, this is one of the best ways to appreciate the athletes as they continue enlisting them in their ambassadorial programs. That story is beefed up for you on page 31. And on the cover page of the Standard this morning, how controversy almost ruined Chebet's golden moment in Paris. Chebet wins Kenya's first gold medal, but it was an emotional night for Kipyegon after disqualification drama. World champion Mora adds another medal for Kenya with bronze in 800 meters. That story is beefed up for you on page 32. Now, with that story of Chebet's progress in Paris Olympics, we take a quick break here on the Morning Momentum. See you on the other side of this broadcast.
Wewe ni mfanyabiashara katika sekta ya elimu, afya bora, usafiri ama unamiliki kampuni yoyote ile? Ungependa kupata fursa ya kutangaza biashara yako ili kuwafikia wateja zaidi? Usikonde. Runinga ya Younib inakupa fursa ya kupeperusha matangazo kuhusu bidhaa na huduma unazotoa kwa bei nafuu. Kwa maelezo zaidi, wasiliana nasi kupitia nambari za simu 0750344700 ama kupitia barua pepe marketing@younibtv.com. Jinyakulie leo. Younib TV, ever the best.
Welcome back to the Morning Momentum. If you're just joining the conversation, you are rolling with the host, with the most. Alfonsoh Ouma is my name. Use the hashtag, the morning momentum, at Younib MEDIA TV, at Alfonsoh Albakwekwe. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation this morning. US ignored Kenyan intel on bombings. Now, Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for simultaneous raids on US embassies in Nairobi and Dar. That story is beefed up for you on page 2 and page 3 of the Daily Nation this morning. Let's take a look at page 4 and page 5. Why Gachagua is unhappy with his government. In the past 2 months, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has come across as a man struggling not to explode over the political pressure surrounding him and painting the picture of a tormented soul. On page 8, Devani to face fresh charges. A Nairobi court allowed the prosecution to detain businessman Yagnesh Devani for a day ahead of his being charged afresh over the 2008 oil scandal. On page 31, Kipyegon recovers after 5,000 meters late-night drama cruises in 1,500 meters heats. She wins back her silver medal, gets yellow card. That story is beefed up for you on page 31. And on the cover page, Nat threatens teachers' strike. Now, Nat has accused the Teachers Service Commission of delaying remittance of statutory and other deductions, such as bank loans and late payment to health providers. Now, let's get up close and candid with the Daily Nation. We start at page 2. Revealed, US ignored Kenyan intelligence on embassy attack. In the attack on the embassy in Nairobi, 213 people were killed and over 5,000 were injured. A woman in Isiolo had overheard terrorists planning to bomb US embassy and Nyali Bridge and passed on the information. That story is beefed up for you on page 2. On page 3, unseen scars of survivors 26 years after bomb blast. On August 7, 1998, terrorists bombed US embassy, leaving 213 dead and thousands injured. For many, the scars are not just physical but emotional, etched deeply into their memories. That story is beefed up for you on page 3. On page 4, Gachagua reveals why he is unhappy with the government. Now, barely 2 years into their term in office, the president and his deputy seem to have had a falling out, with Mr. Gachagua saying some of his boss allies are disrespecting him and the office he holds. Inner turmoil has been playing out as he responds in kind to harsh words thrown by former allies turned foes. That story is beefed up for you on page 4 and page 5. Let's move on and take a look at page 6. Mystery of disappearing report in City Hall probe. Now, county assembly leaders are now trading blame over the failure to table a report by 13-member committee. A similar probe by the ICT committee also ended in failure to table the report. On page 7, inside scheme by Ruto allies to clip Gachagua's political wings. There is plan to isolate Gachagua with both the executive and the ruling alliance. DP has sensationally claimed that there are plans to assassinate him and arrest his allies. That story is beefed up for you on page 7. Let's take a look at page 8. Devani is set to be charged afresh today. The tycoon has been on the run for more than a decade, with the oil scandal having broke out in 2008. The businessman is accused of being behind a scheme through which petroleum worth billions was sold without the owner's consent. Let's move on and take a look at page 10. 2 billion investment at risk as real estate farm owners fight. Now, director of the Kiambu real estate farm says they are under probe by Taxman and DCI. One of the partners accuses 2 others of engaging in economic crimes, including money laundering. That story is beefed up for you on page 10. Let's move on swiftly and take a look at page 12. What's all the buzz about money market funds? Here are the quick insights. You will catch up with that on page 12 of the Daily Nation. Let's now shift gears and take a look at the expert opinion. Protect locals in foreign army ventures. Most African leaders resort to opaque negotiation processes with such foreign entities, hence blindsiding the citizenry. That story is beefed up for you on page 15. Now let's move on swiftly and take a look at other news here on the Daily Nation. That lands us on county news. Now, Ruto perfects Moi playbook, makes Kilgoris home new center of power. Locals who spoke to the nation described the president as an amiable neighbor. Pundits say Ruto's Narok home is the new center of power, akin to Moi's Kabarak. That story is beefed up for you on page 17. Briefly, in Turkana County, new bid to find peace launched. Leaders in West Pokot and Turkana have embarked on a peace building initiative amid rising tensions along the county's borders due to banditry and cattle rustling. Now, let's take a look at Bungoma. Lusaka on the spot over bank accounts. Governor Kenneth Lusaka was hard-pressed to explain why his administration is running 352 commercial bank accounts, contrary to the law, raising concerns they could be avenues for pilferage of public funds. In Taita Taveta County, Governor review revenue formula. Now, Governor Andrew Mwadime has urged the Commission on Revenue Allocation to increase allocations in the counties like Taita Taveta. Mr. Mwadime termed the current formula for revenue division unfair. Let's move on and take a look at other news on the Daily Nation this morning. We take a look at the international news. Now, Bangladesh parliament has been dissolved. General Weka Uz Zaman was due to meet student leaders to discuss the formation of an interim government. Zaman announced Premier Sheikh Hasina's resignation on Monday. Hasina flew to India and is staying at a safe house outside New Delhi. That story is beefed up for you on page 20. Let's take a look at briefly Washington. Kamala picks Minnesota governor team was to be her running mate. In Mogadishu, Somali holds protests against Al-Shabaab after hotel attack. And in Gaborone, Botswana. Now, Botswana close to becoming Africa's first AI superpower. Let's dig deep a little into that. Now, Botswana is aggressively pursuing and promoting the commercialization of high technologies, shoring up the great firewall for the artificial intelligence age. Minister of Communications, Knowledge and Technology, Thulagan Segoko told students at Mata Spey College in Francistown, Botswana's second largest city. According to the latest IMF Artificial Intelligence Preparedness Index dashboard, Botswana's AI Preparedness Index score stood at 0.41 on a scale of 0 to 1. South Africa tops the continent with an AIPI score of 0.5, followed by Tunisia and Morocco, then Ghana. All right. Now, let's move on and take a look at business news. NSC rebounds, gains 16 billion shillings after foreign investor flight. All share index had shed 33 billion in market value during trading on Monday. Investor fears abate after panic at start of the week. That story is beefed up for you on page 22. Now, let's take a look at finance sector. FSD targets East Africa's SME with 39 billion shillings debt fund. Development focused agency, financial sector, deepening. Africa wants to set up a debt fund in Kenya and raise $300 million worth of debt and equity for investing in micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. Now, with that, we move on and take a look at sports news here on the Daily Nation. We start with the school games. High stakes as teams chase East Africa slots. Semi-finals today at Kisii School and Gusii Stadium. High-flying Musingu face St. Joseph's. Highway Dare Karangari in boys football. All right, now let's take a look at Paris Olympics. Serem Koech Kibiwot out to restore Kenya's proud history. Hurdler Were in semis today as charged for 800 meters and 5,000 meters also kicks off. Trio face a hard task ahead of reclaiming men's 3,000 meters steeplechase gold. That story is beefed up for you on page 30. On page 31, yellow, red, and green cards, all part of rules enforcement in track and field. You want to get more insights of when and under what circumstances those cards are issued on page 31. Now, still on page 31, Kipyegon recovers after 2 hours of drama, cruises in 1,500 meters hits. A relaxed Faith says women's 5,000 meters final drama is behind her, and she is tuned to defending her Olympic title as she chases history. That story is beefed up for you on page 31. On the cover page of the Daily Nation this morning, NAT in strike, threat over failure to raise pay and remit deductions. Some banks have written to teachers with loans over failure to pay them despite money being deducted. Exams and assessments slated for third term may be affected if teachers strike. Now, also why MPs want Kenya Power split into 8 regional companies. A parliamentary committee has called for splitting of Kenya Power and Lighting Company into 8 firms to operate as autonomous entities in the former provinces as a way of increasing service efficiency. The National Assembly's Energy Committee, in a meeting with the management of the utility on Tuesday, said the split is the only way to improve efficiency. Now, with that story of splitting Kenya Power into 8 regions, we come to an end of today's session of the Morning Momentum. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with Younib TV, particularly the Morning Momentum. We appreciate your time. By extension, we put out all gratitude to all those who made this broadcast a success, the Chief Controller, Anifa, Kavira, and behind the lens, Raphael, Wangila. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, do have a beautiful Wednesday.
Go.